Howdy folks, thanks for checking out my new premium course. So if you're here, I'm sure you're already well aware that geolayers 3 is a very powerful extension for Adobe After Effects that allows you to create professional map animations. Naturally, if you purchase this course and you want to follow along, you're going to need Adobe After Effects and geolayers version 3. You do not need the MapTyler data subscription plan. However, I will have a separate lesson where I go in depth and I show you the premium features that are available if you decide to purchase that plan. I also suggest you have a working knowledge of Adobe After Effects. It's really going to help if you know how to work with keyframes and you know how to apply effects and you just know the overall After Effects interface and how to navigate. However, I do try to gear a lot of these towards new users. The course begins with a quick start guide. This is really aimed at new geolayers users. It's going to get you up and running to create your first map animation in under 30 minutes. Then I have modules that do deep dives into all the various aspects of geolayers. We're going to talk about how to work with map comps, how to work with map features, how to draw them out and label them. I'll go over how to animate the map comp view, map features, how to animate paths and routes, and even animate your labels. I'll go into map design and layout. I have a section on project breakdowns where I focus on some of my freelance projects as well as how to create maps like other popular YouTube channels, including Vox, Johnny Harris, Real Life Lore, and others. After that, we go into some advanced techniques and best practices when working with geolayers. I've been using geolayers 3 for a handful of years now, and this is pretty much everything I know about the program. Now, if you see any mistakes in the course or you have requests for lessons that can be added, please shoot me a message. Above all, go have fun, create some cool map animations. See ya! Let's do a quick little tour of the geolayers 3 user interface. Now, if something's confusing, don't worry. I'm naturally going to go in depth on all of these topics later on in the course. Also, be aware that your interface might look slightly different from mine. I already have a project set up here. For example, if you haven't set up your map comp yet, you might be missing some buttons or some features. Also, if you're working with the MapTyler premium data plan, you're going to see some additional tools. Now, I have a separate video that goes into detail regarding all the tools you get with MapTyler. Okay, let's just start from the top here with the panel menu. Right up here, if you click on this, you have a handful of really important parameters. Up here, you can check for updates. This is going to show you which version of geolayers you're working with and if it is the latest version. You can also contact support directly. So if you want to send in an email or if you just want to provide feedback or report a bug or even request a feature. If you click on contact support, you can put in the subject, your email, and then you can, specify a priority level and let them know what's what. Or you can even go straight to the website. Underneath support, down here you have projects. Now when you first launch geolayers, this might be the first thing that you see, and you can actually turn off this view right here by deselecting show on startup. And this allows you to create a new project, import, you can see all of your recent projects, even open some of these template projects, and there's a lot of cool stuff down here. I'll close this. Here we have about and license. This is going to show you who the license is registered to, how many users, and then down here, it gives you some copyright information and how you are allowed to use geolayers as well as the map tile imagery associated with geolayers. Here you have preferences. You can control so many different features here, including the defaults of how your map comps are set up, how the automatic animations are placed, like their easing values. You can specify where and how the geodata is searched. You can turn off the visibility of some of these map comp imagery presets. There's options for labels, shape features, and one very cool option up here is the fact that you can export and import these preference settings. So if you're working on a team, this is very, very helpful. At the very bottom of the panel menu, you have help. This will bring you to the documentation of geolayers 3, and what I love about this is you can do keyword searches. So there have been so many times where I was struggling with something, I just came in here and I did a keyword search and found it immediately. The creator has also embedded some tutorials that he put together directly here in this help dialog box. Right here we have what's called the map comp bar. It's going to show you the name of the current map comp that you have selected. If you want to see the actual map comp, you click on this button and it's going to show you everything in your project. Here is where you can actually jump into the map comp settings of a specific map comp and make any changes you'd like to the map comp imagery, the name of the map comp, the labels. Here's where you can add motion blur and repair your expressions and even purge imagery cache. You can quickly disable and enable imagery as well as labels from the map comp view here, and you can duplicate, delete, finalize, and even create new map comps. This view here is going to show you all of the map comps in your entire project. So if you have multiple containing map comps, they'll all be visible here. Over here we have Finalize. This is going to download the high-res imagery into your project. Usually you do this right before you render it out. Clicking on it will finalize every frame in your sequence. If you want to just finalize one frame, hold Control when you click it. And you can even go into the preferences to specify if you want to just finalize the work area. Just underneath the map comp bar, we have the toolbar. And over here on the left, we can pin selected layers to map. You can create controller map comps. Over here, you can create a 3D landscape. Now be aware, if I click on this, it actually requires another third-party plugin to be able to create these 3D landscapes. These are the 4 that are currently available that work with geolayers. And again, these are third-party tools. You have to purchase them separately and then install them before this will actually work. However, when you do use one of these, you can create some really beautiful looking 3D terrain. You can actually draw out diagrams. So let's say you're animating a GPX route. You can use this to visualize elevation. Over here, you have a variety of very, very useful script files. I use these all the time. You can create scale bars, north needles. You can pre-compose feature shape layers. A lot of cool stuff in here, which we'll be touching on later. In the middle here, we have a number of tools for working with labels. There's a drop-down menu that will show you different label templates that you can use, and you can actually download other existing libraries, or you can create your own using this little Add Template button, and then you can also import them. If you want to choose a different label template, you can then swap out existing ones, or simply draw those using the geodata map features. If you don't want to use geodata to draw out these label templates, you can click on this little button right here. That's going to give you a little crosshair icon, which you can then manually select a location on your map right here in the composition panel, and then we'll automatically geocode it and attach it to your map. Over here on the right, we have a handful of tools for drawing out map features on the map. Here we can click this to draw out an arrow using the pen tool, and it's really simple. You just draw whatever you want directly in the composition panel. That's going to create an arrow that's already animated and attached to the map, and then you'll have a handful of parameters in the effect controls panel where you can customize the look of that arrow. This little button is super helpful. It adds a shape layer to your map, which you can then draw directly on. So if you have existing animations, you don't have to worry about attaching these shapes to the map. They will automatically fit. Even if you have bearing and pitch changes going on, the shapes that you draw directly on the map will flow with those animations. It's just so much better than creating a shape and then trying to attach it to your map after the fact. Next up, we have a section for layer styles. So if you click on this little icon here, it's going to bring up this window. I have a whole module focusing on layer styles because this is a very in-depth topic. Layer styles control how your map features are drawn out. Up at the top here, you have a number of layer style presets, and they have these little symbols that help you preview what exactly you're looking at. For example, these are stroke elements. Over here you have fill elements, and you can see as I mouse over them, they give us some little tool tips. We can see the names of these presets. I can click and add a new style preset right here, or I can swap out existing ones here. If you want to edit a style, simply click edit, and you can see there's a handful of parameters that you can change here. Again, we'll be going into depth a little bit later on this topic. And you can export and import these layer styles, or even generate a style based on what the existing imagery in the map comp. These little cogwheels allow you to do data-driven animations based on those parameters. Now, it's very important to understand how these 4 parameters work because they control how these features are drawn out. And when you're doing zooms and moves and animations, these really affect the look of those map features. And then over here, you can quickly swap out those shape layer styles. Under the toolbar, you have the search bar. Here is where I can do a keyword search and look for geodata. Here I have the results of the query. It gives me a preview of the map feature, as well as a couple of different buttons, which I can see here. We can quickly fit to view, add a label, draw out the map feature, or add it to the browser. You also have a symbol on the left, which is a quick preview of your geodata geometry, whether it's a polygon, a line, a point, or a feature collection. Click Add to Browser. Below the search bar, we have the map preview area. This is where you can actually navigate the map. So if I left click and drag, it's going to move the map around, and you'll see that it's reflected in the actual project here. And you can visualize this via this blue overlay. This is telling us what our comp view is. If I scroll, that's going to zoom in on the map, and if I right click and drag, that is going to change the bearing and the pitch of the map. You can see it reflected right here in the map composition. Up at the top left here, you have a little coordinate button. This says find features at coordinate. If you click on this, you're going to see a list of different options here. So it's giving us the country of Ukraine. Here are the boundaries. As I mouse over these, it'll show us the different feature collections. And then you can quickly add these to the browser if you want. Here is where you can toggle the map comp view off and on, so if you don't want to see that blue overlay, or you can also toggle the map comp imagery, so whatever you prefer. Down here is where you can add keyframes to the existing view. If you don't want to control the map from here, you can turn off link map comp view, and now when you navigate on your map, you'll notice that it's not updating here in the map comp. If you click this on again, it's going to snap it back to the existing location. And then here we have some navigation tools. You have zoom in and zoom out. If you click on the actual zoom buttons, they're going to zoom really far. You have a slider bar here if you want to do smaller movements. And if you'd like to reset the rotation, there's a button right here. This whole section at the bottom is called the feature browser. This is where you can organize all of your geospatial geometries that you download, basically all of the geodata. You can see that I've already added Spain and the Ukraine down here to the feature browser. So you can search and filter all of your geodata geometries via this little search bar right here. And you can even search and filter via specific data fields. This is incredibly powerful. Over here, you can see that I could quickly also specify to filter out via the geometry type. So you have points, lines, polygons, or even views. You can save out specific views. So if you don't want to see, if you only want to search for lines, I can filter out by lines. Now I don't have a lot of existing geodata in the feature browser, so I don't have a lot to search through. If you don't want to see the preview in the map view area, simply click this. That's going to toggle that off. Over here, you notice this little plus icon. This allows you to add features to the browser. Click on this. You can actually download features. This will allow you to download data sets from Natural Earth. And this is a quick way to grab all the country borders, all states and provinces if you want to grab time zones. So it's a really cool option. You also have the option to download data directly from OpenStreetMap based on your current view. This is a very, very cool feature. You can import various geodata right here. You can save out specific map comp views. This is very helpful. I use it to animate often. You can create geodata based off of a layer. So if you want to manually draw out a path or a polygon via a shape tool in your composition panel, you can then grab that layer and geocode it via this button right here. I've only recently discovered this feature, but man, oh man, is it incredibly powerful. I use it all the time now. Just below this, you have feature collection. This is where you can group various pieces of geodata. You'll also notice as I select an item here, all these little buttons become available. These are called feature actions. These are things that I can do with this specific geodata selected. We can use this to fit the map comp view to the feature. We can pin actual layers to this feature. We can add a label. We can draw this thing out. We can add it to a feature collection. We can look at the actual properties right here. So if I click on this, it's going to give me all of the different data fields. That's where you can see all the geodata, metadata. I don't know what they call it in the GIS world. Here we can connect this feature to other features. So if I grabbed Ukraine and Spain and clicked connect features, we can connect it via a variety of different options here. You can convert polygons to lines. You can merge features together. You can split features. You can convert polygons to points. You can draw out property charts, export features, or remove them. And as if that wasn't already enough, if you simply click on these, you're going to notice that each individual action has multiple subcategories of actions. And for example, right here, if you look at the symbol, this has a little keyframe icon. So you have these automated animations that you can create based on the geospatial data that you selected. So if you select multiple pieces and then click on it, you're going to see multiple new features show up as well. So the features available really depend on the data type that you select. Geolayers is so powerful. So there you have it, a quick interface tour. Geolayers has a partnership with a company called MapTiler. Now this is a company that provides map services, and if you pay a subscription fee to MapTiler, you get access to a bunch of additional features inside of Geolayers. And some of these features are quite hidden, so I'm going to go over all of these. When you're creating a new map comp inside of Geolayers, you'll get to this window here where you can see a lot of red exclamation points. Now, these are data profiles that don't have a license for the data. So if you click on one, you'll see that a little MapTiler info box pops up and says, in order to use this imagery, you're going to need to license the map data through MapTiler. So if you click on license data, that's going to launch MapTiler's website, and you can go and sign up for a plan here. It's their Flex plan, and at the time of this recording, it's $25 a month, which gives you a license to use the map data. And And there's some specifics about how you can use it down here, including the attribution required, number of subscribers. Once you get all that set up and you have your API key, you now have access to these map tiler profiles. And you can see the map tiler ones via the logo in the top right-hand corner. So I have basic, satellite, advanced. You can do just administrative boundaries. And then you have water mask comps. And naturally, with a map tiler plan, you're going to get access to the map tiler cloud where you can go in and create custom maps as well. I'm going to go grab advanced and then click create. Now you'll notice right away that these maps are highly detailed and incredibly beautiful. So my favorite aspect of having the map tiler plan is the customization options that are available directly within inside of the geolayers panel. So I'm going to go to the map comp here and open up map comp settings. And then I'm going to click on this edit imagery button. So at the very top, you'll see a color palette. And as I hover my cursor over it, you can see little words come up, and it's telling us which aspect of the map the color represents. And if you click on it, you can change it directly from this layout, which is very cool. So you can create a custom color palette and then save it out. You can also use this drop-down menu to quickly swap between various presets. And then if you customize something, you can actually export it out. Or if you have an existing color palette, you can go ahead and import that right here via this button. And you can even import images, which then geolayers will automatically sample and apply. It's incredibly cool. So I'm going to zoom in so we can see some of the details of this map. And now I'm just going to go down and show you all these options. So first you have line width. As you crank this up, you're going to notice you can customize the line width of all these features at the same time. You have street density. Now, if I zoom in, this is going to control basically how many streets we can see. So as I start to bring this down, it's only going to show us the highways. As I bring it back up, it's going to start to show us the different levels of the streets in the neighborhoods. And now all of these assets here, you can simply toggle the visibility on and off. So we can toggle off background, and you can see the alpha channel here. So you can control all of these assets individually. And then we even have hill shade. Now we're not going to see much hill shade in Florida, so maybe if I go over here, here we go. Now you can see the hill shade here. So I could theoretically just turn all of these assets on if we just want to have a layer with hill shade in the background. And to do this, we need to turn the street density all the way down. And now we just have some hill shade. And then down here, you can control the opacity of the hill shade. You have basically a slider from 0 to 1. Now the real power and customization comes in when you start to work with multiple map comps here. So I could create like 3 different map comps and link them all together, and I could have one map comp just showing all the roadways, a second map comp showing all the railroad tracks, and then a third map comp just being the base map imagery, and then that would give me the customization options of being able to, change the opacity or add any effects or features to those various map comps. Another incredibly powerful feature with Map Tiler is this water mask map comp. So if you click on this, it creates another map comp down here called water mask, and it essentially masks out all of the water on your map comp. So if I go back to the map comps here, you can see this new map comp was created, and it's linked up to my main map comp, and it's essentially just black and white, with the white being all of the water elements. And you can see it down here. If I double click on it, this is what we have. And the visibility is actually turned off. And the way this works is you have the map comp here, and if you go to effect controls, now we have a set matte effect that's called water mask, and it's just pulling the information from this to use it as transparency. And it's not finalized. So if I click on finalize here, now we can finalize this. So you can use water mask map comps for a variety of different features. Now I can throw in a background to this map, and I can do whatever I want. So I can come in here and I can add a new solid, or whatever kind of visual I want, if I want to have white or black. And I could take another map comp, isolate the ocean, and be able to animate the ocean separate from my land. And I could also add in shadows, I could bevel the edges, and I can also mask out the water for any kind of shape features that I draw out. This is incredibly powerful. I use it all of the time. I use water mask map comps in pretty much 99% of the maps that I create. So for example, if I went and grabbed Michigan, this is one of those pesky shapes. Let's go and bring the map there. And then I'm just going to draw this out. And if we isolate it, you see that it's including the water features here. So what I can do is I can grab that water mask effect, copy it, and I'm going to isolate Michigan again. And now I'm going to paste it on Michigan, and it's going to mask these out. However, I need to still finalize it. And then we have a nice, clean Michigan map feature layer. MapTiler also gives you a license to use these map comp labels in all the different map profiles. So right here you can see these are all active now, and I have control over these slider bars, and over here I can go to edit and customize them as I would like. There's also an option to draw out 3D buildings right here, and I must admit I do not like this feature. I don't think it's very good. Maybe I just haven't personally used it enough to figure out how it works properly, but it's very intensive on your system, and a lot of the times it takes a while to get good results. And if you've ever used Cinema 4D or a proper 3D application, it's just so much easier in those particular programs. So the way this works, you just specify your layer style and make sure you're zoomed in to a sufficient level. If you're zoomed out too far, it will not draw these out. And I'm going to set the parameters down here. I'm going to turn off auto stroke width, and the geometry also is probably going to play a role in how long these take to draw out. So when I click on draw 3D buildings, what it's going to do, it's going to create a new shape layer here with all of these building layers, and it switches the renderer to a Cinema 4D renderer. If you see right here, it switched it to Cinema 4D, which allows these shapes to be extruded. So now if I change the pitch and the bearing here and I zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to have to refinalize, you'll see that we do indeed have these 3D elements. And the way this works is it adds lights. So it added a spotlight and an ambient light. And you can adjust these to get the shadows that you'd like. And be aware that the shadows are not cast on your actual base map here. They're just reacting with the actual shape elements, which is another reason I really don't like this workflow. You can see the detail here is not quite great, so I'm going to turn this off, and let's just redraw them from this view and see what happens, and now you can see it's going to give us a warning saying, hey, this is going to take a lot of vertices to do this. So why would it be more intensive now instead of when I was zoomed out further? Well, it's because of this setting down here that is simplified geometry. It's set to current zoom. So the more I zoom in, the more detail this is going to have. And if you look right here, these are not very detailed. So if I click here, draw the 3D buildings, they're going to be more detailed. We're going to have to wait longer. And in turn, it's going to be more intensive for our system. I think this feature can be useful, but there are a lot of cons involved with this technique, and it just kind of steers me clear of it. I feel like when you start tinkering around with these 3D elements like extrusion and 3D terrain, that you should just go ahead and use a proper 3D program at that point. All right, this is looking a lot better. Once again, because we're zoomed in here, it's giving us more detail. And if I zoom the comp out, you can see just how many shapes it drew, which are all it's like the whole neighborhood here. However, now you see if I just try to pivot around like this, let's see what happens. It's going to take a long time just to update, and once again, if you've worked with something like Cinema 4D, it's just kind of doesn't make sense to work with these 3D elements here inside of After Effects when you can jump into a proper program, and it's much, much more snappy.